الرسمي. فقط
Professor in education and human development and Western college. Radiology in the Western college. He held the distinct research scientist position. After being India from Dr. Peter Aston, as the executive director of American State. because it's my
I'm looking so much forward for this today, but there is a future for common results in the many years to come until the next cycle starts. Having been NRC TIMSS in 2 cycles, it's only a few days where we catch our breath and then we start all over again. It's important for the future of our children. Thank you. Leave the floor to Matron Davia. And then we start all over.
Okay. Good morning, good evening. Thank you very much for the introduction, Thierry, and thank you, Christian and Thierry. Text about TIMSS. I'd like to thank our hosts for the amazing, so it's really a wonderful place to be and to present the TIMSS result. And as Christian said, we are taking a death, we are celebrating. We should be all very happy that this is happening. So I'm Matthias here. I serve as the executive director of the College International Studies Center at College, and it's my honor to present key results. Let's dive right into the results with a little bit of a quote by somebody who was really important for, I think, research around the world for years. We all we certainly still read about the COVID pandemic. And Dr. Anthony Fauci from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases in the US said, well, you've got science, it's a self-correcting process. And I think that applies to us as well as to all other science. We constantly evolve. TIMSS is 28 years old. It will be a few years older in a few years with TIMSS27, as John alluded to. We move and think TIMSS3 is a big step forward while not forgetting our past and while it's being true and honest to be able to say it. TIMSS remains the gold standard from trend science. Let me jump into the results. So the website, we have results. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mathematics and science achievement results. And as always, we have a large group of countries. We have our scores, and we all focus tendency on this first table, which is a very important table of average achievement. But I don't want to spend too much time on this table at the time. We have every time always some up and down movement. I would like to look at the bigger picture and to look at the pattern we see behind achievement results. We also have very important costs of learning. We have contexts like how we are seeing levels of achievement in each country. And I would like to essentially move us away from only looking at the ups and downs to also understand what's going on around the world. We have these great international benchmarks that tell us how students do at different points on our TIMSS scale. So we have the advanced benchmark at 625, we have the high benchmark at 550, we have the intermediate benchmark at 475, low benchmark at 400, each of which gives us context what the students at these different benchmarks know and can do. What we see is that around the world, in all the participants, on average, 91% of all students reach the low level, basic level, the level that we hope every student at least. And indeed, 90% of students do that in mathematics. 70% reach immediate benchmarks, so they go somewhat higher. 30% on average go to the high benchmark and reach and have some more advanced knowledge, and then the benchmark of 625 is reached by 7% of this around the world. So that's achievement to be able to say something about students are doing at the different level of proficiency in TIMSS. A similar picture is there in science. 90% reach great achievement. Many countries have more than 90% reach basic levels of science education. The intermediate again is reached 50%. That's a very low. And again, 31% at the high benchmark, at the advanced benchmark, and 7%. These benchmarks, there are descriptions online, what kind of skills have at the different levels, and each country has percentages, so we better understand the breadth of distribution of knowledge, not only the average, because it's only one piece of information. Very important, but we should also look at who reaches the different levels of achievement. I would like to do the same with grade. Again, we have a large increase. We have benchmarking participants as well. And we can see countries with some ups and downs, and that's, of course, something we will dig into in the following hours. And we will probably focus again at the average achievement, but never forget that the country has a range of achievement. We have students who are high performing and students that are average for the country and students that are lower performing within the country. So we should look at the average achievement and think about how did we change over time, how do we compare to other countries. But at the same time, we have a very important task to understand the breadth of achievement that we have in the countries. So let me go to the same picture. So in mathematics, in grade 8, we see a tiny bit of, so the low benchmark is really 81% than the fourth grade, even though different, it's of course different mathematics, it's much more diverse and complex, of course. So things shift around. The intermediate benchmark is reached by 55% of all kids around the country, around the world. The benchmark is reached by 28%. The advanced benchmark is still at 7%. Is similar in science. Again, we have 80% at the low benchmark. We have 56% at the intermediate benchmark, 20% at the high benchmark, and at the benchmark we have 6% of all students reaching the science level. Not everybody can get to the advanced. What TIMSS is about, of course, we want challenging questions that are not for everybody. But we would like to know that many students reach the basic level, the low benchmark allows they necessary skills, mathematics, and to move on to the next, to then eventually graduate from school. Let me talk a little bit about trends. TIMSS stands for trends in mathematics and science, and we are taking this seriously. Try to look as well as to the future. So we really want to understand how countries participating in TIMSS are changing. Let me jump again right into this. We have on the top mathematics, on the bottom science, and around the participating countries, we see about the same number of increases, decreases, and we see no change in 2 countries in mathematics, no change in 20 reasons, whereas we see roughly the same number of countries with actually tiny bit increase, surprisingly, than decrease maybe. And that's a very nice picture. So there's always some change, but it seems pretty balanced. So it's something that you can't expect every country around the world always just about changes in the education system, changes in population. Things might change in ways that sometimes do not lead to an in-course. And that's what TIMSS again is about. We are monitoring education. We are not judging in this, so it's something about understanding what's going on in education worldwide. Now we get to the 8th grade. Here, a slightly different picture. In this picture, as you see, there's again a big group with no change or almost change, very few points maybe. We have a lot of countries comparably decrease compared to countries that show an increase. So you see only 3 countries that actually increase in the 8th grade mathematics and science score, whereas we have 4 versus 15 countries with decrease in that score. Different from the 4th grade, which made us think, of course, and these are the results that we see now. To analyze we have to look into what's in each country. Our countries will pick this up and look into what's happened in their own backyard, so to speak, and look into other data, not only TIMSS, but related data, because every country will all have specific information that we cannot gather at the international level. This is one of the things that certainly will be worth of discussion, and I'm sure we'll pick the results up, and so we should talk more about this in the following days. I'm moving into the contextual data. TIMSS does not only achievement, TIMSS also has a host, a rich collection of content. And we would like to also understand how the student background relates to student achievement. Again, it's not anything only average score. It's also about how TIMSS achievement data relates to what's going in the home of the student, what's going on in the school, going on inside of the student. So how do they feel about school? How much do they like what they learn, etc. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the important correlates or predictors of achievement that we found. There are many more on the website. Speaking about that, here we mentioned we have 2 presentations, actually have 2.5 presentations. So we have a little video of the website, active feed, at the end of my presentation here, and use that a little bit later. And there we can see more of the context data. So I invite you to look into that. So let's go to the first on the context data. We have home economic status. That comes from the home questionnaire. The parents are reporting here. And we categorize the responses of the parents to education, occupation, home resources into 3 broad categories: higher, middle, and lower socioeconomic status. See, this variable is an important predictor of how well students. So we have quite substantial difference between the group and the lower group. If you look some percent, 90-some points between these groups. The groups are, the low SES group is only 22%, the middle group is 48%, 30% big, and quite a big difference between these 3 groups actually. Even the middle SES group has quite a big difference to the high group, so there you still see more points difference. So the context of education is extremely important. Just to jump, you not do too much about home SES, so that's something that is hard to change. What we can do is, of course, what education is doing, and maybe to minimize or reduce that effect. Do things is to look at student absences, and we also see a picture that we don't like to see. Students who don't go to school regularly, who might miss once a week or once every 2 weeks, and just look at the average scores. We have here the mathematics score for grade 8. And between those students who never miss a day of school or rarely ever miss school and those who miss school regularly or very often, there's a huge average achievement. That's then around all the TIMSS countries. So there's something where we can do something about it, and we should be concerned about those students who simply don't get a chance to learn because they're not at school. Same picture essentially in science. So we would really need to understand better what keeps them away from school and how maybe potentially get those kids who are missing school quite often, how we can get them back to attend school on a regular basis. Again, these different depending on the country. We have this on the interactive web page, so I cannot show all the different country results here, but I invite you to explore that in detail. So let's go other variables that talk about in the report. We ask students whether mathematics, learning mathematics, I should say. And as an example, we picked the 4th grade because, again, I cannot show everything here. And we have of students who say they like mathematics very much. We have 32% of the students say they somewhat like mathematics. And then we have 24% of students who say they do not like mathematics. Again, we see difference, not as big, but still substantive and somewhat concerning. If students do not like mathematics, on average, they do not prefer students who say they do like mathematics much. Here's a little bit the chicken and egg problem, of course. Do they not like mathematics because they have a difficulty learning mathematics? And how do we change that? So we probably have to put the lever on both sides and try to change something on both ends to make mathematics enjoyable as well as mathematics maybe more acceptance to be able to understand it better. You might like it better as well. At grade 8, without going into detail, just look at the numbers. With grade 4 and grade 8, the number of students who say they like mathematics very much drops quite a bit. All the technical, just this overall fact. At grade 8, you will see fewer students saying they like science. And those who like mathematics science tend to perform better than those who do not like mathematics. So another thing that can be deeply explored and maybe based on additional data within countries, maybe by initiatives in countries to see what's done about this. But is oops, oh, that was the wrong button. To think more. A related variable, not whether you like the subject, but whether you feel confident about being able to solve problems in the subject, to understand the subject. We also ask students about how much they think they can do science, they can do mathematics, they will understand what the teacher explains, etc. And here we also see very differences. Students who say they're feeling very confident, on average, perform really, really well, versus students who do not feel confident, who feel somewhat confident, sitting somewhere in between. We have a similar picture, again, in grade 8, not too many students to say they're very, very confident, but those who do have, on average, a much higher performance than students who are not confident in mathematics, in science in this case. Again, one of the things that we should digest more and think about how help us and how we into the future in science and mathematics education. I would really invite you to the website. We will show a short video about this. The report is fully web-based. We still have in customary formats, so you can download the scale, the data in Excel and PDF form. But we focus more on the web-based to allow users to fully interact with this web. We try to make it use. We hope successful with that. So users can act and sort, select data, maneuver from grades and subjects, other grades and subjects. And we have this focus always. We have a section on achievement data alone, on trends over time, also on the trends in the marks that I explained early in the talk. We talk a lot about the context of learning at the student, the home level, level as well. I would really like to invite you to further explore this after my short video that I'm going to show. Now comes my thank you. I have to thank, I'm just showing a few pictures of our staff at Boston College. So this the group of people working at the International Studies Center. I show all the pictures of all the people, of course. I would also like to, of course, thank the Lynch School for that continued support. Dean Stanton Warthen here with us, who was so nice and was in this release, and we're very glad to be at Boston and are very glad all the support. I would like to, of course, say it's a wonderful collaboration. We are very glad that we are working on that is really education-based and really thinking about how to improve education. We have consultants in development and sampling work. We have people working on translation education. But last but not least, that all the countries, the hundreds of people working on this project, really do incredible work. And this is such high quality data. We really about these results. So, and I think, yeah, I would love to show 500 of pictures, but I can't. So that was from the side of the highlights. Scan this, but much better gives an overview, a video that recorded. This video will be narrated by Dr. Ann Kennedy, also from our center at Boston College. She is not able to be here, but at least she sends via this video, hear her voice at least. Okay, so let's do the video.
The main page for national results in mathematics and science has 3 sections. The page for the international results in mathematics and science has 3 sections. The first section, about TIMSS2023, provides an overview of the assessment and describes key aspects of the study. The second provides the achievement results in mathematics and science at the 4th and 8th grade. The third focuses on the control data for learning mathematics and science. In the achievement results section, a separate page for each domain presents infographics with the major findings and at the top of the page. Exhibits and text describing the achievement results at each grade, including achievement distribution, national benchmarks, trends, relative achievement, and content cognitive domains. One of the most dynamic features of the TIMSS2023 international results interact. Each report exhibit has features that lets you customize how you view data. The text at the top of the page is the overall results shown in each exhibit. The reader is then invited to view the graphical results. Sorting options allow for the data to be sorted in a variety of ways. In this particular, sorting can be done alphabetically by country name or by quintiles of the score distribution. A search field allows the reader to countries or benchmarking of interest. This particular exhibit also provides a list of countries with similar achievements for a selected country or benchmarking participant. By hovering over the results, a tooltip provides additional information, numerical results. Here we see % of the scale score distribution. Finally, the full exhibit can be done in Excel or PDF format. Download the exhibit as a PNG. Download the exhibit based on the filtered and sorted data. The percentages of students at the International Marks of Achievement, a nuanced picture of student performance across the proficiency levels, capturing the range of student abilities than focusing solely on average achievement. The default sort for the exhibit is percentage of students at the Advanced International. However, the reader may select other sorting options, including percentages of students at the marks. By doing this, you can see that countries have more than 90% of their students reach at least the low benchmark. Sorting by the intermediate level, we can also see that many of the same countries have at least 2/3 of students reaching the intermediate national benchmark. And a reader can also search for specific countries. And the tooltips also show information about national benchmarks when looking at the graphical results. The trend plots of average mathematics achievement for girls and boys exhibit shows trends back to 90 for countries participating in past cycles. The default sort option alphabetically by name. However, a reader may choose to sort by the size of the achievement. For example, sorting by the 2020 score in ascending order shows countries in order from smallest to largest gaps between performance in mathematics 4 in TIMSS2023. This allows the reader to see the narrowing or widening gaps in achievement differences across countries.
Thank you very much. I'm handing over to Dirk.
Good morning also from my side. Here. It's very nice to be here. Thank you here at the Ministry, and thanks also for the ABEX to support the event. Thank you, Matthias, for the wealth of information, and it's information, and also the website, as you've seen, having more information. So I'd like to focus a bit on what I think are some important key findings of the study. I think one thing that we can see is that a slight positive trend with only 13 or 49 participating countries, increase in student achievement in mathematics, grade 4. The biggest increase in grade 4 in mathematics in countries like Poland with 26 points, Montenegro 24, Saudi Arabia with points, Albania 18, Lithuania, United Arab Emirates. So one I found particularly interesting to see that countries seem to be mostly from two regions, Eastern Europe and the Gulf. And what I found particularly interesting here is to note, if you put it in a larger picture of studies that we've seen out after the pandemic, we saw a lot of decreases in achievement in pearls, in other international studies. To put that into perspective, TIMSS grade 4 is the first study that's after the pandemic where we do not see these significant decreases, at least for the grade 4 students. So maybe there's some light, even though it's the same number of countries going up, down, just more. But again, it's a first study that has these more positive results. And the same is actually true for science. We also see two with increases, and we saw the big increases in grade 4 in science in Saudi Arabia, 5 score points, Qatar, UAE, England, Poland, Australia, Morocco. So that's a more diverse group where we have increases around the world. But Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and UAE remain the countries that have increases here. Interestingly, as already also Matthias pointed out, we see a very picture in TIMSS grade 8. Grade 8, we are 14 countries with this decreasing significant mass achievement, and with decreased significant achievement, and 16 with no change, and only 3 countries were in mass achievement: Romania, Sweden, and Arab Emirates. Science, it's England, Hong Kong, and United Arab Emirates. We are seeing here again a huge number with decreasing results, very different from our results, and it requires further investigation why we see the different trends in grade 4, grade 8. As already pointed out, of course, you may focus between the countries, but again, I think what's even more important and interesting to look at is the differences in all the countries. Equity in education is a goal that we see on the world. And the good news is that the substantial percentage of 4th and 8th grade wide reach is the low international benchmark in math and science. 91% of 4th grade students reached the low benchmarks in mathematics and 90% in science. 81% of this 8th grades reached the low benchmark and math percent in science. So that's very good, and I think that's very promising here. But we also see a very good finding that there's a strong relationship between students' background. We see that students with more homelessness are doing better in math and science in grade 4 and grade 8 across countries. Students with greater access to books, technology, and supportive learning environment scored significantly in math and science. And that's definitely something I think that requires further emphasis on equity in all systems. One thing regarding equity is also looking at gender differences, and we also for a long time. And what we found this time in the TIMSS result is that the short-term trends between 2019 and 2023 show a greater difference in math achievement between boys and girls, particularly in the grade mathematics. The findings reveal that the gender differences in mathematics and science achievement have won in many countries in 2019, in grade 4. Even in countries where the gender gap favored girls in both cycles, the gap was smaller in 2023 compared to 2019. So the gender gap is widening. I mean, the largest gender gaps that we've ever seen in TIMSS. Definitely something that I think requires investigation, with our attention, and something that needs to be looked at all levels. We don't know about the possible cause yet, but definitely got that. The area that really also at my heart is we have a lot of information on environmental action. In addition to the results of the achieved TIMSS also provides a wealth of data on important aspects. We have an environmental scale that was ad hoc in TIMSS2019, based onto the topic in order to investigate what students knew about environmental related topics, as well as how they felt about their importance. In 2023, we were able to develop questions with a scale already in mind, allowing us to expand this topic. And it's known that the students who value environmental protection seem also to have a higher achievement of knowledge in that subject. And I think that's also something important, and we'll continue to look at. Another thing that was already touched by Matthias is absenteeism. And I think that's something really, really disturbing also. We saw that in 20% of the students at least once every 2 weeks. In grade 8, it's 22% of the grade 8 students were absent at least once every 2 weeks. And in 1 out of 10 students reported to be absent about a week. And as Matthias has shown, a strong relationship between achievement and absenteeism. That's definitely looked, and that definitely requires also attention. It's very easy to see that students at this very, very young age seem to be already somewhat disengaged. So that requires, and since we saw that the students who are less frequently and also perform better, it means to get them into the schools. Another point that's really also at my heart is the attitude achievement. And especially we have seen there's an increase in students who do not like to learn some subjects. And science, there's an increase from 18% of students, 26% who don't like to learn science. And in mathematics, this percentage of students grown from 24% to 46 students in grade 8 who said they don't like to learn mathematics. And my background is in mathematics, and I think it's a great subject. And I think it's important that we get the message to the students, what a wonderful subject is. that our teachers are able to share their passion for this subject. There's the reason why they are teaching, I hope. I think it's important that we need to this passion of the students and make them learning. We also have some positive examples, actually, where the increase of disliking mathematics is lower than in other countries. For example, the increase is only 7%. In Singapore, it's only 10% between grade 4 and grade 8. So there are some examples with very different countries, which we learn from what they do differently. So altogether, the benefits of the data and the variety of topics covered within TIMSS offer opportunities for further investigations. One major product besides the national report and reports to come is the data. The data will be publicly available pretty soon, when all the documentation is finished. It also will not include only the achievement data, the data you have seen, but since it's a computer-based assessment, we will also have data of the process, how long it took item to work on, how long they worked on it total, if they've gone back and things like that. So there's a lot of information that can be studied from them. And also we offer workshops on that. One thing I also like to mention is there are different reports. One of them is also what we call teacher snippets, 2 of which have been released today. They are available and targeted for teacher audience. They are English with translation guidelines. I hope we'll pick it up and translate them in their respective language also to make them available to their teachers. So, if I summarize, what I see here is that the TIMSS2023 results show both the report for some recognized patterns like homosis and achievement and the relationship, alongside, I think, with some new surprising ones, gender gap widening. 28 years of trends by policymakers with high-quality, unbiased data to target their interventions to ensure that all students have tools they need to be supported. By identifying and addressing these disparities, policymakers can ensure that all students, regardless of gender or background, are equally supported in their academic, career, and aspirations, particularly in critical STEM areas. Of course, this work has not been possible without the work from many people around the world. So I appreciate all the support that we got from schools, from principals, from teachers, from students, from parents who answered all these questions. Without them, we would not use this data. So with that, I thank for this, but I also want ahead. And the next cycle is just around the corner. So we will launch the 2027 cycle beginning of the year. And also that will provide the opportunity to measure education progress, benchmark globally over. It will be digital and adaptive design to tailor students' achievements. The framework will be updated and insight for the future curriculum policy will be included. And again, as mentioned, TIMSS is not only, it has huge background information from the parents of the students in grade 4, math and science teachers, from principals, and also with that the TIMSS2027 will give you information to guide future policy and education. I thank you all for your attention. It's wonderful to be here. Arab Emirates, Dubai, that many more results and analysis of all the data will continue to improve education in all of your country, because that's what we're working for, to improve education in Dubai. Thank you very much.
Dirk, for these results, as you said, a lot of things to dig in, of course. That's a first big result, but still not to digest. We have a bit of time now, like 15 minutes, just for you to know that around 400 persons connect who listen to you. Not many questions in the chat for the moment, but in the audience, if you have any question, please, we would be very happy to hear from you. So don't be shy. And one question was about which student decrease which English. You said a regular pattern, it will depend on countries, etc. But I think there's you talked about the COVID effect, the fact that for in Perth, we have a really image in Teams. So how could you explain that different perspective from one study to regarding the COVID crisis effect? Maybe Matthias?
Dirk had this nice expression of the light at the end, at least for the 4th grade. So certainly when we came out of COVID, we expected longs, and we were afraid that it would take a long time to recover. My assumption is that, at least for the 4th grade, were quite successful to catch up and were able to turn around. We need a deep dive into that, and we really need a country by country look into this. Just because every country is different in terms of how countries reacted to COVID. Whether it was high instruction, whether it was more online materials. Just to give a little bit of a pitch, we have an insight reports on COVID-related questions Pearl's assessment. So what is really important now is to say, well, this is good news in the 4th grade, but now let's dig into maybe the differences in increases versus across countries, what the different policies were.
Dirk, you want to add on that?
Sure. What Matthias said is right, that there were different policies between different countries, and there's probably also different policies how pandemic the primary students were catered and how the secondary students were catered, and also that differed between countries. So I think it's certainly important to look into that, maybe also to learn for the future what are successful approaches in emergency cases like we had the pandemic. How can we learn education is disrupted the least? And I think also for that, TIMSS with ISIS to that further.
Very much. Any question in the room? Please do not hesitate again. We still have a bit of time, so reform. There's a question about the long-term comparison, say, how relevant are TIMSS items from 28 years in a fast-changing society? But maybe you can explain a bit how the common items, etc., compare from a long-term perspective.
Yeah, that's a question. We provide trends from 1990 to 2023. That is something that can't be. However, we also have to understand, I think education goes into the future, education changes, change over time. And about a long time that large assessments have to face both the changes in assessment that are needed to reflect the latest curricula, as well as need to provide consistency over time. So these balanced by having a large overlap, the most direct previous sites. So in this case, in 2019 and 2023, we have the most overlap in what we are testing. But we also change every time to fit the assessment the countries want, what they teach, what needs to be covered. Because we really know what countries are doing, rather than just test something that is completely, not irrelevant, but completely disjunct from what are actually teaching in the classroom. At the same time, we also have to move into the future more technology. So even though we provide trend data and we say, well, this is the trend scale, slowly over time between each we have some changes in the assessment. And of course, we didn't have computer-based assessment in '95. But data are comparable in the sense of measure the same mathematics construct, slow changes in the curriculum.
Just, there are some question about the transition paper pencil to computer-based. So how this impacted the results and how we take account into the
leads us back to TIMSS 2019 actually started the transition, and 50% of the countries already took the computer-based assessment. TIMSS took a very careful approach. So the items, the questions of how comparable they are on a bridge study that actually looked into how it's adjusted for that, so that we can have the results on the comparison with the results on the paper-based assessment. So that was done in a way with a very elaborate study. Many countries participated in contact with this data, and we looked extremely carefully for different needs and adjusted if necessary.
Thank you, Matthias. We have a question in the room in the back there. If you can introduce yourself, ask a question.
Yes, thank you very much. Just, I want to know if for COVID-19, for the results of maths and science, so know that I mean, some countries closed for a long time, and the students were in COVID-19 and taking grade 2, some of them, and them in grade 1. So if there is a of COVID-19 for the results, is that especially for those countries who close the schools for time.
Yeah, these are the very questions that are on everybody's mind, but they are not as easy to answer because we do not exactly test students in grade 2 and grade 4 again. We assume there is a COVID effect, of course, but to test the same students and again, that doesn't happen very often. So what we have is a comparison to comparable populations and groups of students, for example, in 2019. So again, we could look at students in the previous assessment and in this current data and see what the differences are and whether we see maybe difference of growths or different types of divergence between the results. But we correctly compare, we do not test the same students before and after COVID. However, the data gives rich information about how to see what comparable groups of students are doing.
Thank you, Matthias. Maybe a question for Dear. The relationship between policies, there was always a question, what kind of policies could bring to improvement in the results, or another way, that is a classical question, what can we learn for best performers? That's some question in the chat.
I think that's a wonderful one, because that also partly go to the question about this COVID effect, because what we know what's going on, that there are policy changes all over the world. So how do you distinguish what is the effect of COVID, the effect of potential policy changes? And especially one thing to keep in mind is that if you change a policy, then not next day the achievement of the students will change. It takes a while. Your curriculum, you probably need to teach your teachers how to teach this new curriculum. Familiar with that, you need to have textbooks that are related to this curriculum. So altogether, you see, it takes between sometimes even 10 years before you can really see result policy changes. Although there are some positive examples also of policy changes that had quite immediate effect. And it's up to the countries to learn what are the policy implications and what they can learn in their respective countries. And what you learn is probably very different by country. On the IEA website, we, for example, also have one compass brief from Chinese about what they learned. And for example, had compared their achievement levels to other countries in the region, found that they had various averages, but they had more students at the lower end. So they investigated that further, and what they came up with is that they had invented a program to especially achieving students. And from one school to the next in TIMSS, their achievement level of this part of the distribution has increased significantly. So that's only one example. And on the IEA website, we also have examples, and there's also policy analysis, policies that were implemented after seeing TIMSS results, other IEA styles like PERS or ICLA. So the takeaways, I think, from countries different. I strongly believe that all countries can from it, and also other countries. Copying of policy, you cannot copy one policy country to the next, copy an education system out of context from one country to the next. But look at other countries and learn that, and that's the value of national study like TIMSS. It provides you an outside perspective and comparisons.
Thank you, Dirk. Please, yes, please.
Yes, thank you much for this insightful presentation. I would like to ask, and we know that internal assessment such as TIMSS usually is in the policy level improvement. But what about school practice? Yani, can we use this data and result improve school practice in a second level, not only policy level? Thank you.
Yeah, there are also questions on school and teacher practices. We learn from the study too.
Yeah, I think that's an important aspect because teachers matters. So that's what we want to finally go. And that's also why in TIMSS we have these wonderful study designs that we don't not only assess the students, but we ask the teachers of the assessments. So we have a dialogue between students and their respective sub-teachers, which offers huge opportunities. But also we ask ourselves, I mean, I started with research reports, then with some policy reports or address the policy. So what's in it for the team and in schools? And we have a very nice section on the website with material for the teachers. My colleagues, Paula Koschner and Andrea Nettin, who is here, and who can share a lot of information on that. We develop materials, teachers. There's, for example, one about teaching of students with different language backgrounds. We also have things that you can put on the wall because we know teachers and practitioners, they need some different information. They might be that in statistics, but be interested to get something really tangible. What can I do in my school, in my classroom, to improve the learning? And for that, we are also using materials from IEA study TIMSS and also our colleagues from Boston College, just two very nice of information for this, how to improve learning in schools. So we also try to have all these materials are available on the website in English, but with guides how to translate them into respective languages. And it's very useful. The features also from teacher unions is very effective. So I think make also a direct impact on the learning in schools.
Thank you, Dirk. Matthias?
Yeah, just a tiny bit, because we have a section. So we'll have the encyclopedia, we have our curriculum questionnaire, and we have teaching practices in the questionnaires teachers respond to. I would believe that TIMSS really also provides a rich resource for teacher education, so that you can actually use it not only to teachers who are already in service, but also while you're training teachers. You have a lot of data and materials for that purpose.
Thank you very much, both of you. We are almost at the end of our session. Maybe a final, from your point of view, the most maybe surprising results or some data you want to dig in more in the coming months? To finish, maybe Dirk to start?
Sure. It's at everyone's heart to look what is actually also the COVID effect, so that's definitely something to better look at. Also the differences that we're seeing between grade 8. I'm also personally very interested in the gender gap that we're seeing. I'm a father of 3 girls, so I really don't like to see that we see girls falling behind in the STEM subject. So I think that's definitely something I would be very, very interested in. And I also would like, can we increase the students' valuing and liking subject mathematics? I think it's so important. It's such a wonderful subject, and it's so sad that in grade 8, nearly 50% of the students say that they dislike mathematics. I think that's really something that's, I guess, a task for everyone to look, what can we do to improve that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dirk. What about you, Matthias?
Yeah, for me, is the long-term trend data. So I would really like to dig more into that, how we see long-term trends. We have a lot of countries that participated for a long time, TIMSS. The differences between 4th and 5th grade and the consistencies there, and the changes in now have a computer-based assessment. So for me, it's also reading into more students are actually even the more complex items. Very nice solving and inquiries, and those provide additional data, which is enriched for the database that we're pursuing. So that's not only for us at the Boston College to dig into it, also the process data and all response data will be available very in the international research community.
Thank you very much, both of you. Many exciting analysis to come. As I reached the end of our session, it went very fast. A lot of questions still in the, there are some infos by the IEA team. We try to bring it more, but many questions is just normal. It's the beginning of analysis. I want to thank all the participants in the live stream event. Please stay online because there will be a video at the end about the TIMSS and a questionnaire for your satisfaction questionnaire that you can fill at the end of the live stream. Thank you very much again for you online and for you in the room to be here and to have listened to the result. And I want to give those to our speakers again to thank them.
IEA's TIMSS is the longest-running international assessment of mathematics and science at the 8th grades, directed by the TIMSS and Per International Study Center at Boston College. TIMSS has monitored mathematics and science achievement around the world since 1995, gathering high-quality data that policymakers can use to make evidence-based decisions about mathematics, curricula, and instruction. TIMSS2023 was the 8th TIMSS, providing 8 years of trend data for mathematics and science achievement at the 4th and 8th. TIMSS2023 is the first fully digital of TIMSS, and almost all countries administered a computer assessment to theirs. In addition to the achievement data, TIMSS2023 includes contextual describing experiences in school and information about national policies related to education. Across the 4th and 8th grades, over 500,000 students in 64 countries participated in TIMSS2023. 59 countries and 6 benchmarking participants grade, and 44 3 benchmarking participants participated at the 8th. The TIMSS mathematics and science assessments are based upon internationally agreed-up frameworks that specifics and skills appropriate to measure for 4th and 8th grade students across countries. The TIMSS2020 frameworks also include information about contextual data collected in the assessment. The TIMSS2023 International Benchmark of Mathematics and Science Achievement, the knowledge and skills that 4th and 8th grade students demonstrate at of performance on the TIMSS assessments. The Advanced Benchmark carries the highest levels of mathematics and science and describes the knowledge skills demonstrated by top-performing students. The National Benchmarks characterize minimal levels of efficiency in mathematics and science for 4th and 8th grade students. The Intermediate and High International Benchmarks describe science achievement at levels between low and advanced benchmarks. The benchmarks build upon each other, meaning that students who reach highest benchmark also reach lower benchmarks. In mathematics, 10% of 4th grade students internationally reached the low benchmark, meaning that demonstrated basic mathematical understanding, performing tasks such as adding and subtracting to 3 digits, and reading data from different representations. 70% of students reached the intermediate benchmark. 35% of students reached. Only 7% reached the advanced benchmark. Students demonstrated that they could select and relate information, implement appropriate operation, solve problems by performing tasks such as interpreting the results of questions given in problem contexts and in making choices about data in numerous contexts. In science, 90% of fourth grade students internationally reached the low benchmark. These students showed knowledge of some sciences, such as basic knowledge of plants and the environment, as well as Earth's characteristics and its climate. 30% of students reached the intermediate benchmark, and 31% of students reached the mark. Only 6% of students reached the advanced benchmark, demonstrating that they could show, apply knowledge of life and earth sciences in multiple scientific exercises. These students demonstrated knowledge of topics such as the characteristics of living things, properties of matter, and use of earth natural resources. In mathematics, 81% eighth grade students internationally reached the low benchmark, demonstrating knowledge of basic shapes and representations. Students at this performed tasks such as applying basic properties of wholes and finding of sides and polygons. 55% of students reached intermediate benchmark, and 28% of students reached the high benchmark. Only 6% of students reached the advanced benchmark, demonstrating their abilities to extend understanding beyond working with integers alone to solve problems in novel contexts. Students at this level performed tasks such as writing expression and solving algebraic equations.